Good afternoon, class. I hope your days have been amazing, and I hope you are just as excited for this lesson as I am. Today, we will be studying how to interpret and comprehend texts, and we will be using a Shakespeare sonnet to do that. And we'll be doing different activities to help you think through it and maybe try to get a sense of how it's structured to help you understand a little bit of what's going on, as well as an activity that places your understanding from today into a different kind of writing. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you are in the groups that I have assigned for you that were on the board. They should be groups of 2, unless there's somebody missing today. If there's someone missing today and your partner is not here, can you please raise your hand for me? Okay, Kendall, you'll be moving with Christian and Sophie. Thank you. Okay, so before we get started today, I just want to go over our standards that we'll be covering today. And there is a lot of them, so I'm not going to name every single one because some of them are things that we cover on a daily basis. But if you would like to get out your strategies from your binder right now and look at them with me, we'll go over those right now. And they are on my lesson plan as well. If you miss what I'm saying right now, just come talk to me after class and I will repeat them to you so you can mark them down. Okay, so for reading literature, we're doing 12.2, which is to determine 2 or more themes or central ideas from a text and analyze their development over the course of the text. It will also be doing 12.4 from that section, determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in the text. And that just goes along with interpreting. We really want to make sure that we have our words and phrases down and how they are put into the text. And then in reading informative literature, we are doing 12.1, which is cite strong and thorough evidence to support the analysis. Since we are going to be looking at the different structures and kind of gaining our own meaning from it, we do want to cite exactly like where we're getting that idea from. So that's why we're going to study that one. We're also doing 12.2 and 12.4 from there, but that's about the same as reading literature. And then we'll also be doing writing, which 12.3 is write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences using effective technique and structure. So we will be doing a prose letter at the end of the class, and that will actually be your exit slip / admission slip for tomorrow. So we'll be writing that, and we want to do it in an effective technique, and we want to do it in the correct structure, just so we can understand how it's implemented from the poem and how we can get it to be what it is after you're done. We're also doing 12.4 from writing, which is produce clear and coherent writing, which you all know. You all know that you are supposed to be making clear writing and making it to be understandable with proper grammar. You all know that. We'll also be studying speech, 12.1, 12.4, and 12.6, which you all know about, and language, 12.1 through 12.5. But those are all things you know, and we'll be just covering those. I just wanted to let you know. So, some terms you should know before we get started. This poem is Shakespeare, obviously, like I said, and we want to make sure that we understand kind of what he means from his different vocabulary that he uses. So one is impediments, which means obstruction, hindrance, or obstacle. And then we also have alteration, which one is either the changes of heart or 2 changes affected by time or circumstance. And there's also one that he uses, it's called mark. In this instance, it means a lighthouse. So watch out for that because that is very significant in our discussion today. Star is actually not just a star, it's pole star. And then bark in this poem means boat. Error in this means legally a fault in procedure invalidating the judgment, or theologically heresy. Okay, so prose, as I was saying earlier, is writing that is not poetry. So it's ordinary writing, things that we do every day. So we'll be going from poetry to our ordinary writing. And since we are studying a sonnet, you should probably know what that is. Sonnet is a poem made up of 14 lines that rhyme in a fixed pattern. So there are two parts of a sonnet. Can anybody tell me what those two parts are? Very good. Stanza is one of the parts of it. Do you know what a stanza is? Yeah? Pretty close. Let me read you the definition. An arrangement of certain number of lines, usually 4 or more, sometimes having a fixed length, meter, or rhyme scheme, forming a division of a poem. So you were very close in saying that it is just a few lines that are grouped together, but it's a little bit more detailed than that. So good job trying to get that. Who can name the second part of a sonnet? We're having a little trouble there. Okay. It's a couplet. Can anybody tell me what a couplet is? Good. It's a pair of lines, successive lines actually, and they usually rhyme and are the same length. So very good. So those are the words you need to be looking out for today as we do it. So the first activity we're going to do today is we're going to do a jumbled text kind of formation to help with our sentence structure and seeing how the poem moves. You should all have a baggie of cut up pieces. These pieces have the poem on them. They look like this. See, they just have, the different lines on them, stuff like that. And they should all be cut up into single lines. What you're going to do with your partner or partners, for anybody who has a 3, you are going to form the poem to the best of your ability. You may not know exactly how it is, how it's written, or what it's actually supposed to say, but I want you to try your best, try and get them into their stanza groups and get them in order, and then try to get the couplets. Remember, couplets rhyme, so that should help you out a little bit. I'll give you few minutes to do that with your partners, and then we'll go over exactly what it is saying and something that you interpreted from it, and then we'll talk about the activity at the end of class. So go ahead and start in your groups, and I will get the PowerPoint ready. Okay, so before we do the PowerPoint, I just wanted to show you this is the book that we are going to be using. It's the Complete Pelican Shakespeare. And so it's like the general edition. And it's a large book. It is about this thick. And we'll be using that later on in the semester. But for right now, we're just going to use the paper that has been cut out for you from it. And then we'll pass out the book later as we get into more of Shakespeare's plays and things like that. So, our PowerPoint today, Sonnet 116, as I have already mentioned. So, we already talked about how you need to get in your groups and stuff like that. So, I hope you all got it. Can anybody tell me something they may have put in order they think is pretty close? For the first stanza. Let's go with the first stanza, yeah. Close. You actually had the second and third line mixed up, and that is okay. You were very close on that one. So, let's read it out loud for the first stanza. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. You all got that? Okay, good. We'll discuss that in a minute. We just want to get the rest done. So, anybody have an idea of what the second stanza is supposed to look like? Good. Very good. You got it. So, the second stanza is, oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to ever-wandering bark, whose worth unknown, although his height be taken. So that was very good. So the last stanza, I'm just going to read it to you so we can kind of move on with the lesson. Love's not times full, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Do you all have the 3 stanzas in order? If you don't and your neighbor next to you does, just kind of like look off there so we can move on with the lesson, and we'll finish up with the couplet. Okay, so the couplet says, "If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor man ever loved." You got that? Okay, so let's go back to stanza 1, which is lines 1 through 4, and you should have that in order. So the first question we're going to ask is, what is Shakespeare saying throughout this stanza? Is it positive or negative? What do you all think? Positive? Okay, good. Can you explain a little bit why? Because it's saying it's not going to give up? Okay, so what is he saying? They don't want to admit impediments. Close. Basically, what we are trying to say is that if you are really in love, you're not going to admit the faults of others, and you're not going to change the way you feel about them just because something presents itself to be changed, or there's something better along the way. If you're really in love, then nothing can shake where you're at. So that's what it said about love. At this point, do you think the poem should be read at a wedding? Okay, so we have some mixed feelings there. So let's move on and see maybe how we feel about these. So stanza 2 is lines 5 through 8. So what is the movement of this stanza? Is there a recurring theme? There is a recurring theme, isn't there? So what is it? It's talking about a lighthouse, right? So what's it kind of saying about the lighthouse? Yeah, it is. So remember what we talked about at the beginning, that bark means boat. So if we're talking about bark meaning a boat and we have a lighthouse, does it mean that in the storms we're going to still have our light and we're going to still have our central point? Correct? Okay, yes. So I think we would all agree that this is a positive view of love. So consider the first 2 stanzas, and do you think it should be read at a wedding? Okay, let's move on. So stanza 3, how does this stanza differ from the rest of the poem? Okay, you don't think it differs at all? Okay, let's ask a few more questions then. Do you notice any language patterns in it? How about within his bending sickle's compass come? What do you think that does? Okay, yeah, it has a s. Actually, if you look at it really closely, that is the sickle cutting the grass. And that was just a fun little thing to remember. So why would Shakespeare end this stanza to end the 3 stanzas with? Because it's saying that it's going to work it out even if there are problems. Correct. Very good. So, what do the last 2 lines or couplet mean? Good. Yes, it means that if none of this is true, if love doesn't go through these struggles, if love doesn't go through all the things that it just said, then they have never loved anybody and they don't know what it means. Very good. So would this be read at a wedding? Depending on the person, it could be. Okay. All right. So before we leave class, I'm going to give you your assignment. Okay, so to show that you understand language and the way that it works, write a letter in prose that hits all of the major points from the poem. This must be at least 1 page, but it can go over that. So please turn this in by the beginning of class tomorrow. I want you to continue writing it for the rest of class, but I will read you an example of one that I wrote, and it says, "To my groom, as we begin this journey together, let me promise you a few things. Even though our marriage, just like any other marriage, will have its problems and trials, I will not focus on the struggles that we face. If we know better, we both know that there will be really hard times, but through all of that, I promise not to give up. What kind of love would we have if we tried to change a relationship when a situation comes along to break it up, or tried to reject each other when there's an instance of struggles? I promise to you that I will be there and travel with you through the good and bad times. I promise to be your constant and your stability from now until the end of time. Even when we stray apart from each other, I will remain like a lighthouse for you to find your way back home. Our love shines like the brightest star, so when we've lost our way, we'll always know where we are. People may be able to see the surface of our relationship and all that we face, but only we will know the depths of our love for each other. As time goes on and we grow old and familiar with each other, I promise that our love will not fade. Our appearances may change and fade as time goes on, but I promise to let our love grow and shine brighter the longer that we are together. Our love can outlast even our own life. Just because the time ticks away faster and faster, our love will make it past our lifetimes, our children and grandchildren's lifetimes. If our love is as strong as I believe and know it to be, we will outlast the end of time. I have experienced the best of times with you and can't wait to go through much more. You need to know that I believe in our love and think that we can make it through any sort of trouble that comes our way. If any word that I have promised you turns out to be false and I am proven wrong, then I have never known love, and no person alive knows what true love is. Our love never changes, it never fades, and it outlasts time, and admits no flaw. This is what I know to be true. Love your bride." Now, your letter can be kind of like mine, to a bride or groom, or it can be to a friend or your dog, whatever you want to make it to. Just make sure it hits the key points in each stanza in the couplet. And so that will be your activity that you'll turn in at the beginning of class tomorrow to enter into class, and it will be for a grade. So I want you to start writing that right now, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson today, and we will continue to work with interpreting and comprehension as we go on throughout the year and as we study some more Shakespeare. So have a good day, and I will see you all tomorrow.